I'm absolutely delighted to welcome on our next guest. Every Monday when I talk to the Mayor, Peter Taylor, for our Ask the Mayor Mondays, we always mention Watford Football Club. And now I'll be straight up with you. A few months ago, couldn't care less about football. Now I'm addicted to Sunderland Till I Die, the football Netflix documentary. And I can't get enough about what Watford Football Club are doing for our community. And there's one man who can tell us exactly what they are doing, give us all the details. It's Dave Messenger. And to use his proper title, it's the Supporter Liaison and Disability Access Officer for the club. Dave, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Benjy.
Now, first of all, I have to ask you, for the first time in, I don't know how many years, we're not playing football at the moment. And now for you, your job must revolve around that. What is that like for you?
It's been an interesting couple of months, without doubt. I think the actual loss of the matches from my particular role is quite keenly felt, because most of my role revolves around preparing for matches and making sure that all of our supporters with disability access requirements are looked after and that they're in the best seating for them for the matches. And without actual matches taking place, there's obviously none of that work going on. So it's been an interesting time, and I think some of the different things that the club and the community trust have been involved in the last sort of 7 to 8 weeks have really helped to fill that void.
Well, help to fill that void. I've got to say, it's absolutely stratospheric. And I've got to say, Watford Football Club are not a team to wallow in their own misery. No, sir. You were telling me yesterday when we caught up, 1,800 phone calls. Tell me about this initiative that's been launched to support some of the older members of the Hornets community. Yeah, and
this is part of our Hornets at Home scheme, which we pretty much implemented pretty much as soon as we went into. We were a week earlier than everybody else in terms of going into lockdown, because that's when the football matches were actually the Premier League was actually postponed. So very quickly, the Hornets at Home scheme sprung into life. We've, in conjunction with our colleagues in the community trust as well, we've been making outbound phone calls. We've had, as you said, about 1,800 calls that we've made. We've had players, past and present, volunteer to give up their time to make calls, as well as club staff and staff from the community trust. And it's all about just giving people, weekly catch-ups and giving them a call to ask how they're getting on, whether they need any sort of practical support, medicines being delivered, food being delivered, any of that sort of thing. And the club's been happy to help and service some quite sort of wide-ranging requests, from delivering medicine to a couple of guys from the ticket office went round and mowed somebody's lawn with Roy Moore from the 1881 movement a couple of days ago. So pretty much everything you can possibly think of within that remit. But the calls themselves, as I say, the players and former players and the club staff have been involved in those, and it's been great. The feedback that we've had from the people that have received the calls has been fantastic.
Go on, you can drop a few names. Who's been getting on the old dog and bone and surprising some of your fans?
I think there's been quite a few current players. The manager, Nigel Pearson, has been involved, right. Former player-wise. There's a couple of former players that have been particularly competitive with one another, trying to drive up the numbers of calls that they made.
Brilliant.
But it's great for the former players. We've got, as a former player, many of your listeners may not remember, but Bill Shipwright played for Watford in the 1950s, and even he's been making calls to supporters his age, and Bill tells us that he's been making supporters that have been able to tell him more about his career than he can remember himself. So it's brilliant. There's such a wide range of former players and current players that have been involved in the work.
Now, of course, one of your other big initiatives, which we've been praising, week in, week out here on Vibe 107.6 FM, I should say, that keeps the gaffer happy, is helping out West Herts Hospital with, giving up your facilities for staff to use. And you yourself have done a few shifts on reception on the front desk at Vicarage Road. What's the atmosphere like?
It's been really uplifting, actually, to see, because the atmosphere that when you're actually working on, I've worked on the reception desk and been lucky enough to be in the sort of restaurant areas as well, where we're serving the meals to NHS staff, and we're serving around about 1,200 meals a day, so that's an awful lot of people coming through, and you can see you straight away as soon as you see them come through. The reception desk that I was manning is actually where they leave the building rather than where they come into the building, and you can see on the faces they've been able to get some respite from whatever it is they've been doing in hospital, been able to spend some time with colleagues, just chatting and enjoying the surroundings at the ground, and just taking a break from what must be just such a, I don't think any of us that don't work there firsthand can possibly begin to imagine how tough their lives must have been over this last couple of months. So for the club, from our point of view, we're a club that likes to think of itself as a community club. We've had this ethos running through the club for about 40 years, since the days of Graham Taylor and Elton John, and for us not to have used this space to do what we've done would have been unthinkable. And for the feedback that we've received from our own fans as well, getting in touch from fans from other clubs, getting in touch with the club to sort of give us a bit of a pat on the back, it's great. But for us, it's all about that support that we've been able to provide to people that really need it. And right now, it's the people working in hospitals in the NHS, they're the heroes, not the Premier League footballers, and our players will be the first to hold their heads up and say, that the work that we're doing it's absolutely fantastic, and those guys over in the hospital absolutely deserve our support. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant to see, and it's great to see across all the community how people are coming together. You briefly mentioned his name. I know one over 65 season ticket holder, probably holed up somewhere large, but a huge fan of the club. Has Sir Elton had a call from one of the former players yet?
I don't know if he's had an outbound call, but Sir Elton is quite well known within the sort of senior management of the club. He's very much a man has probably made a few inbound calls. I think he has expressed his delight in what's been happening, and expressed his sort of his fondness for the club, and he always does. But yeah, he's in regular contact with the club anyway, and I'm sure he's been only too happy to pass on his thanks and support. But yeah, I don't think we've made an outgoing call to him just yet.
He doesn't need any shopping delivered, probably.
Yeah,
not.
he doesn't need it. He'd be in touch. He's in touch with us, and we still, those of us that work at the club, still very much, we try to work as best we can to the ethos that was set by Sir Elton and Graham back in the day.
Fantastic. Well, do you know what, Dave, from all of us at Vibe 107.6 FM, we wish all the club the best, and at the end of the day, I think you're going to find a lot more people interested in what the club are doing after the sheer kind of determination and leadership that Vicarage Road and the Hornets have shown during these times. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be fantastic as well. But I just hope that people, more than anything else, interest in the team and interest in results is great. But that's fantastic. But as much as anything, I hope it's just reinforcing those family club ethics that we like to run ourselves by.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Dave, and hopefully we get to talk to you again soon.
Cheers, Benjy.